Welcome to the Decent People podcast, a production of Decential Media, where we're committed to telling the stories of the founders, builders, and visionaries who are creating a new decentralized economy and internet experience. You guys know it as Web3 or blockchain, and we're going to bring you the smartest and most interesting people in the space for intimate conversations that reveal their background, how they got into crypto in the first place, and what they're doing today to make a decentralized future a reality. Thanks so much for joining us. Make sure to check out our site at decential.io. Now, to the show.
Welcome back to another edition of the Decent People podcast. I'm here this week with Alex Todd, founder of Saucy Farms Extracts, and Brandon Howard, founder of the Higher Life CBD Dispensary. What's up, guys? Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, what's up? What's up?
What's up, man? Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. So, two unique stories for both of you. Maybe just to tee it up, did you guys ever envision being in the cannabis space growing up? Was that an aspiration? Sort of how did you both find your way to your current spots?
I never thought that I would be in the cannabis business ever. Growing up, cannabis was not even, an option for us having any type of, unless you were doing, selling drugs basically on the corners and, or, have a beeper service, something like that. I was more on the consumer side. I'm a big time smoker since I'm 15, smoke almost every day since then. Took a few breaks in between just for whatever reason, but primarily been smoking now for, over 25 years. And I never envisioned myself being in this industry until obviously the laws and the regulations changed. And once that happened, then we started to take a deeper look into it. But it all stemmed from, the love of the plant, the love of what cannabis has meant for me, for my health. And, it started off as a passion, more of a passion project, and just developed into what it is now.
Awesome. And for you, Brandon?
I got into an accident and I started leaning towards the medicinal side of it. So I tried CBD on my neck for inflammation. And from that point on, I fell in love with it. Like, I was like, this is way more just smoking with your friends, having a little social get together. Like, this can really help people. So I jumped right into the CBD, and like, cannabis is my life now. Like, I love it.
Awesome. And so both your paths then, it sounds like, came from a place where you both had a relationship with the plant and an experience with it, and it made sense then to monetize the value of what you guys were experiencing kind of on your own separately.
Yeah.
Once you see something that you're passionate about, and all of a sudden you can now start making money in something, or try to make money in something that you're passionate about, I think that's a major key to success.
Was there something that led you to believe, oh, hey, I can carve a niche in this industry that's aligned with my passion? Or for both of you, really, what was it that allowed you to see, hey, I can add something to this culture and this industry?
I think there was a big void in this industry in the beginning, more than now is starting to get a little bit better. But I think there was a big gap between the suits, the big corporations, and what the culture wanted. And I think we still have that gap there where, most of the people in like the big states are all dominated by major MSOs with guys that are wearing suits that never smoked a product before in their life. And it's been strictly about capital and making money. And they don't care about the plant. They don't care about the people that are buying the plant. They don't care about the social justice arm of it, of how many people are still in jail. I think there's over 40,000 people that are still in jail over the plant. And I think that I felt there was like a big gap that separates what we're part of the culture that we're in, and what the cannabis landscape is actually what it actually is in the United States right now. So we're, we were trying to fill that gap and try to bring the culture, intersect the culture with the suits for Saucy anyway, and try to get, some of these suits thinking more aligned with the culture as opposed to just, going public and bottom lines and things in that nature.
This stigma with marijuana is some people look at it like very, very negatively, but it's not a negative, it's not nothing negative. Like the culture's full of passionate people who work everyday jobs that could smoke and still go to work and still be fully functional. And there's a lot of people in jail for marijuana too. I actually have an uncle that's doing 30 years for marijuana right now. So to
Wow.
watch the big corporate companies like Alex talked about make money, and people are still sitting in jail for doing the same thing they're doing now legally. That's something that I want to do, shed light on on my brand and cannabis itself, to show people people can do this as a real job. There's nothing bad. There's nothing wrong with it. Let's make this a culture where people can accept it. You know what I mean? That's one of my main purposes too.
Totally. And as part of that awareness and kind of showing how, as you said, Brandon, and you as well, Alex, touched on it, what's being done in that space, and I guess with your respective brands to kind of address those topics.
Yeah, I think I work closely right now with Corbin Cooper, who he was sentenced to life without parole for cannabis, and ever since he was pardoned by Trump last year, before Trump left office, I've been working really closely with him, really trying to help, doing whatever we really can to shed light on the people that are still in jail, that are still fighting for their day of freedom. Brandon said, there's corporations that are trying to make billions of dollars, but there's still plenty of people in jail, and still going to jail. I mean, as you know, the federal government is still not 100% on board with cannabis right now. So we're just trying to change as much as we could, try to lobby and try to, make donations. We try to keep in touch with some of the prisoners. We give a small portion of our profits to the Reform Alliance, to help with just, reform, and try to do whatever we could to push the envelope to start really hoping that one day that these people that are in jail will eventually come free and will be able to join this industry. I think New York State is definitely doing a decent job with, trying to get former convicts and people that were, harmed by the war on crime, the opportunity to get into this industry. I think that the first 200 dispensaries in New York State are going to social equity, and it helps on your application if you've been arrested for cannabis crimes in the past. I think that's a nice way in terms of reparations. They're also raising $200 million, to help these people get into the industry with, putting up a dispensary, helping them fund it, giving them some operating capital. So I think New York State is actually trying to get it right, and I'm excited about being a New Yorker. I'm excited that that we have Tremaine Wright as head of the Cannabis Commission. I'm excited about what's happening in New York altogether. So we're just going to keep pushing the needle, pushing the envelope, and trying to get these 40,000 prisoners home.
Where do you guys see your respective companies, and then just the mission of them tying into both the future of cannabis and this new horizon of metaverse and cryptocurrency?
I think as I do more and more of the podcast, and I sit back and think about the vision in the future, honestly, I think that in the future that people will be able to wear the VR goggles, actually walk in a real dispensary and order whatever they want and have it shipped to their doors. I think it'll be a very good idea for people who's not as mobile as other people. It's very convenient for them. I mean, Uber Eats and all those companies that deliver, it showed that it was a big convenience for people during COVID. So with the metaverse approaching, like I think that in the future, like that would be like the metaverse will be the place to go for e-commerce, period. But for cannabis, it's going to be very convenient for people to order to their door, actually have fun, and be able to walk the block on the Ethereum blockchain in the metaverse.
Cool. So essentially, you're saying the future seems primed to, you know, go into a virtual store, which it would equate to the supply in an actual dispensary in this case, and make a selection all from your couch, presumably.
Yes. So imagine if you I had this idea where imagine if you went into a kiosk and when you left a nightclub on a weekend and you just walk into this cool kiosk, you could sit down and put the gargles on and order something and it could show up right there at your location or at your house before you get home. Like that's going to be the future.
Kind of like now how you can order a burrito on Postmates before you arrive at your destination and have that right there. You'll have your bag or your pre-rolls ready to rock.
Yep.
Roll up.
Yep, and you could buy it on the blockchain, controlled by the people, for the people. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And as far as the mission of both Saucy and Higher Life, maybe talk a little bit about what each of your respective ventures, aim to do and how they're serving the industry in a different way.
I mean, just to piggyback, what Brandon was saying earlier, I wasn't per se so until Brandon asked me about putting the Saucy store in his dispensary on the Metaverse. I wasn't so keen on, obviously I love cryptos, love the NFT space, don't know much about the Metaverse. I can't even log in to most of these Sandbox and Decentraland and I don't even know how to log into most of these places. So for me, I think at first glance, it was just more of an advertising opportunity where, we don't have the conventional advertising spaces like going to Google or going to Facebook. They don't accept us, the cannabis industry, as of right now. So for me, it was more about trying to get as many eyeballs as possible to look at the brand, and being a very hot industry, being something that is being talked about very heavily right now. We figured why not, try to get our brand exposure out there. If there's a lot of eyeballs in the Metaverse right now, to us, it was more about trying to get our brand more noticed and being affiliated with the crypto space and just being, at first it was more like what I was thinking more to do an NFT, more of as a membership to exclusive products from us, possibly smoke lounges all around the country eventually. That was more of my crypto ideas that I was coming out with. And that's something that we still plan on doing. We plan on hopefully, launching some NFTs, and eventually once the Metaverse is more accessible to people, like Brandon said, it would be cool if people are at a concert in the Metaverse listening to a Rhianna concert and they know they don't have to move, they don't have to leave their house. They can put on, just go next door, next to the concert venue, go in there, actually see the bud, see the products, and be able to get it delivered eventually to your home without having to leave your couch is going to be an amazing situation. Just like he said, Uber and Postmates and all these convenient tools that, they don't actually touch the plant or touch the products. Uber doesn't own any cars, Airbnb doesn't own any real estate. So it's just about connecting the product users with the the consumers with the actual product. I think that's where the Metaverse is going to be really key because, for example, CBD, not like cannabis, you can send all over the country, all over the world. Somebody wants to, is able to go and if they do have some back pain in Germany, for example, they can go on to Decentraland, or they can go on to Crypto Voxels and go into Higher Life CBD right now and just order some cream for themselves or a tincture and get it delivered to them, which is, pretty amazing, And I just think, in terms of advertising, convenience, and just technology in general, I think it's the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And in terms of that advertising, that's a really interesting point. I think so there's regulations in place then, again, for those who don't know, that prevent you from advertising in the mainstream ways that other companies can advertise their products. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, we can't advertise on Google, we can't advertise on Facebook, can't advertise on Instagram.
No
We're
TikTok.
Yeah, so you're basically you're really limited to what you could do to like billboards and like print, which is like old fashioned shit, to be quite frank with you. All the new technology, the only thing where we're able to actually, to really get out there is maybe some Twitter. And right now with this metaverse, hopefully, we'll be able to really be able to reach the whole world. I mean, when you're doing local stuff, billboards and stuff, you're reaching only the people that are driving by that billboard, right? Where opposed to anybody can get on the online, and hopefully when there's a lot of people using the metaverse, they're going to be all over the world. So your reach just becomes so much bigger. And I think that's what we're most excited about.
Yes.
Right. And I think the other main point that's really interesting is the legalities too, because you're not only able to reach that wider demographic and more people, but it seems you're doing it there's not, the metaverse isn't regulated like, call it.
Not yet anyway.
Right. Well, really fascinating. So are there things then currently that you're able to do aside from is advertising then, would you say the biggest thing that you can do in the metaverse that you can't do in, call it real life?
Well, there's a couple of things. So you actually could build your dispensary like you actually want it to look without building it in reality. So that's a cool part too. So you can actually put a building there, build it like you want it to look. And then you have the fun part of being like in a gamer mode where you can walk in and buy stuff like you're really there, but you're not. So it's a conjunction of a lot of things: advertisement, being able to be creative and build things the way you want without spending a lot of money. And then you're actually running the business and you're still legal, so you don't have anything to worry about. And the metaverse seems to be very accepting to us too, as long as we don't break any rules or do anything wrong. Like the community accept us. So that's the cool part.
Yeah. And so like, could you essentially say you didn't have a retail space, but you were a business, could you build your business in the like you build your shop in the metaverse, but still run it out of, say you were being really cost efficient and running it out of a particular location? You could have a metaverse location as your storefront, and then the back end could be something else.
Yeah, that's the cool part.
Yeah, I think it just all depends on, again, like what you're selling. Like cannabis, THC products, you can't really do that right now. Only if you're selling it in the state that you're licensed to sell in. So you can't just get on the metaverse in Detroit and buy Saucy unless we're licensed in Michigan. So you still have to follow the rules of basically your current local jurisdiction. Eventually we're hoping for that you don't have to grow and sell in the same state that you're in, and that just becomes a federal regulation issue. And but perfect example is what Brandon's doing. I mean, he's worldwide on crypto voxels, but his storefront is in Indiana or in so it's pretty cool that he could ship and people have eyeballs of all his products anywhere across the world without having to advertise, obviously on other sites, and people can access his medicine all across the world now, just by going on to his crypto voxel store.
Mm-hmm.
And is that predominantly because the CBD, it doesn't have THC, so it can be as you're saying,
Yeah, it could be
everybody
shipped.
can.
Yeah, you're allowed to ship. You're allowed to ship CBD across state lines and out of the country, whereas opposed to THC has to be sold in the state, licensed in the state, tested in the state. It's a really tough industry, man. It's like imagine having to drink wine. Where are you located right now?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh, so you got
Nice.
you have good access to
Yeah.
good California wine and good California bud. But
Right.
me, on the other hand, I'm from New York, and imagine having to drink wine that was produced in New York, in the state, and you can only drink liquor that was produced in New York State. It makes things a lot more difficult. So, that's our biggest problem is just the production wise and people, the investment it takes. So every time, Budweiser only has to build one factory and they can distribute it from their one factory. But a company like Saucy needs to put up multiple factories in every single state that we go into. We would have to build our own, build our own production facility or partner with existing facilities that are already in the state. So it just makes it very difficult for us to really make money. The tax structure is very difficult. You can't write off the majority of the products like you could in other businesses. And it's a very tough landscape right now. And that's why the majority of the people that are making money are the ones that are still doing it illegally.
Interesting. So, and how do you navigate that space between obviously maintaining a legitimate operation and balancing it with, folks who might cut corners to achieve more of a profit?
Obviously right now it's a tough landscape, and you just have to keep pushing, and you keep fighting and going for what you believe in, and you have a passion for it. Like many other things, I'm sure other entrepreneurs have thought about giving up many times, and you just got to keep fighting through it. Nothing is built overnight. They say a consumer product good, something that's, a product that's made and manufactured, or a brand develop something in the CPG space, it takes about 10 years, to really develop a brand in that space, so you just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other and hope that eventually these laws do change where, we're able to produce products in California and sell them in all over the country, all over the world. We're hoping to get to that space. As of right now, you just really have to just, buckle up and just like trim as much fat as possible and try to build your brand where it's everybody wants it, and just constantly put out a really good product. So when people do have the opportunity to experience your product, they are happy with their first impression. I think it's very important.
Right. And then from there, one would imagine word of mouth is huge, especially with this type of stuff, because it's such an experiential, just like food, or as you guys were talking about, alcohol,
it's really experimental. And, I've been fortunate because of my prior industry and some of my connections that I had with some celebrities and things like that to really get my brand in the forefront. But not everyone has those type of, don't have those type of connections and don't have that, the access to really do that. It costs people a lot of money to do that, where we've been fortunate enough, we have partners. One of my partners, that's the president of Rock Nation, and so we've had the access to some of the people that could magnetize our brand and our awareness. So we've been lucky with that point. But the majority of the companies out there that are startups don't really have that, unfortunately. And they have to go out and try to brand and spend tons of money on parties and marketing, and which is hard to convert into actual sales.
So you're saying there is an added value to those relationships that you have, because a tweet or a Instagram post or something like that, which isn't advertising the product per se, but is mentioning the company.
It's brand awareness,
Yeah.
It's just organic brand awareness. And I think that's better than anything that you can actually pay for, because it's real and people could feel that. So,
And kind of what you were saying though, just a question on accessibility. So if, say, I'm here in LA, I go to New York, I experience something amazing with Saucy Farms. If I come back here and I want to get it, I'd still have to go to New York. I can't get it here in LA, basically.
Luckily enough, we're in LA also.
Oh,
But
well, there you go.
Luckily enough, our brand started at California.
Got it.
California, okay. Oregon. Next couple of weeks, we'll be launching in Arizona and in Michigan as well. Unfortunately, if you're in New York, you can't get my product. So it's one of those things. For now, we're not licensed in New York. We haven't figured that part out. We're working on it, and New Jersey as well. Those are the next 2 states that we're coming after. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. New Yorkers, which is our biggest market probably, where I'm from, where I have the most connections, I can't sell my product here. Gotta go to California basically to smoke Saucy.
So you're saying too, then you have to go to each individual state and secure those licenses versus, man, that's a lot of legwork.
It's a lot of legwork.
Yeah, but if you think about it, once he lock all that legwork in and the metaverse takes off, people will be able to order from all those different states from the metaverse too. So it's going to be beneficial for him as well.
Right. So if you go to Crypto Voxels, you'll be able to go to our second floor up there, the Saucy store. And if you're in California, they'll direct you to a website and you can order it from the website. Mm-hmm. So it's not 100% yet where you can just click. It's still kind of a process. A lot of Web 2 still involved. Just regular basic internet technology is still involved with it. But eventually, as the metaverse grows and as the laws change and as things progress, I think it will be a lot more easier, I would say, and accessible to everyone.
Got it. So yeah, as you know, crypto and the metaverse, as you're saying, continues to grow, so that it sounds like you're primed to sort of ride the wave and adapt with it and allow more accessibility to the products and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you look at all the major companies, like the big MSOs, they're losing hundreds of millions of dollars a year trying to figure out the landscape. Whether you're in Canada, whether you're in the United States, not too many profitable cannabis companies out there right now. So everyone's betting on the future. That's what it is. As of right now, it's just a race to trying to build your name, try to find quality partners. And I think that the space that we're in, you know, we're still in the first or second inning of this space, which is really cool. So that I think that there's a lot of potential and a lot of growth. But as of right now, don't think you're going to get into the space and you're going to make millions of dollars and it's simple and everybody smokes weed and it's not easy. It's very tough landscape right now. So I would just, forewarn people just to do their research, do their due diligence before jumping in, really just dive into it and make sure they know what they're doing.
On that tip, do you think that having, the relationship with Higher Life and the CBD component has aided certainly the brand awareness and growth in a way that without that piece, it has that been instrumental, I guess, in just the growth of everything?
I think CBD is, it comes from the same plant, from the same family. It's, hemp, cannabis, very similar. Just the psychoactive activity is removed, the THC portion of it for the most part. I think it's big, the fact that we're getting less and less, what's the word you used before, Brandon? Stigma about the plant. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very important. I think CBD has done a great job with that, to help destigmatize cannabis in general. And then, I wouldn't have been part of the metaverse as of yet if it wasn't for Brandon and his CBD company. He had the forward vision and the forward looking to be able to start this and really get the attention and get the eyeballs. And we're just hoping to, hopefully ride his coattails and get more consumers to his space, and hopefully there'll be more brand awareness for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Brandon, what was the sort of instigating thought or event or experience that kind of helped push you to realize, hey, this is something we need to kind of grab a hold of and become part of now and in the future?
I think it all started with Clubhouse. Like, you remember we were all in lockdown, nobody could communicate with each other.
Yeah.
We couldn't meet up with each other. And when Clubhouse took off, all of the cannabis Mongols was on there talking, like all the big ones. Burner, all the growers, all the brands. We all got to talk to each other, get to know each other. It was really amazing because like those people I'm not able to meet with in public. It takes a lot of channels to get to those people. So when I was able to actually talk to all of them and we all connected, Alex was one of the ones that really kept in contact with me. So we developed a friendship, and I approached him and was like, hey, I'm working on something. I want to get you involved with it. I did my research on him already. He already had his brand already up and going. It looks good. Everything's legit. He has a following, his distribution, and it only made sense to bring his marijuana brand with my CBD, so that way both of us can be on the forefront of this experiment in the metaverse. So I had the CBD, and he has the marijuana, and we're already on the forefront. So once we work out all the kinks and get things going, I think that me and his brand will be the ones that will benefit eventually in the future, because we're getting a lot of attention right now, like Forbes, Wall Street Journal. We have all the big dogs knocking at our door, so we can only go up from here.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, in terms of going up from here, what can consumers and fans of the brand expect, or both companies, expect to see in the coming months, and what can we be on the lookout for?
Right now, I'm just trying to stay consistent. Make sure my product's good. Make sure when people receive the packages, they have experience with it and they get extra perks with it. We're just right now, we're kind of just, as technology advances with Web3 and VR and stuff, we're kind of just trying to stay up to date and come up with new ideas. But in the meanwhile, me and Alex are just, we're pretty much just sitting back, kind of letting it play out by itself.
Yeah, I think like as more of these metaverses develop, hopefully we'll start not only being in crypto voxels, hopefully me and Brandon will go into Sandbox, go into Decentraland, or whichever will be the most popular one where people actually be able to go and have access. And I think that there will be a community there. I think we definitely want to keep, our brands in the metaverse. And like you said, look, we're talking to you, Wall Street Journal, Forbes, a plethora of other, media companies, and that's all from the metaverse. So that was one of the main reasons why we wanted to bring our brand there, is to get that attention that we're getting. So far it's worked. Financially, it's not like we're killing it or we're making millions of dollars. And that, I think, one of the reasons why is just because there's just not too many people that know how to get onto these metaverses, or don't have the eyeballs yet, that many eyeballs on them yet. So once I think that there's more people that are going, when it becomes more like Roblox and Fortnite, where you have your, millions of people at one time in this one space, I think that's when it will translate into dollars and cents. Mm-hmm. I just think that we're like with the cannabis industry, the metaverse is not even in the first inning yet. I feel like it's just like we're just getting our big toe wet right now. So once it expands, and once, there's more and more people and eyeballs there, I think that's when it will start translating into dollars and cents. But like I said, our main objective was just for a place for us to advertise, really.
Yeah. And it's like you're also, I think it's a really smart move, because you're establishing yourself as a player, or as players before, to your point, because once it pops, it's like when NFTs popped. I mean, then the rush comes. So, not to say that the metaverse hasn't popped yet, but in many ways, in this specific sector that we're talking about, it's still very much a wide open terrain. And
we're at Bitcoin at 100 right now. Bitcoin at $100. So there's a lot of growth there, So I think that's what we're excited about. And as as that world grows, we hope to grow with it.
Mm. Well, and it sounds like, in terms of everything that you and Brandon are doing, Alex, you're well positioned both, as you said, with Web3 and kind of the vision and hopefully some advancements in the legal system too that can help enable and spearhead the growth too. Because I think that's what's also really interesting is the growth of the metaverse and sort of the hopeful growth of and changes to the cannabis rules and regulations, at least here in the U.S. It sounds like that's those two things can coincide in a really interesting way and certainly impact, your businesses, especially.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Guys, Alex Todd, Brendan Howard. This has been another episode of the Decent People podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ladden. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And this has been great.
Thank you for having us, man.